Hello filmmaker! This week we are talking all about production stills. Now when you are making a film, a documentary or any kind of film really, production stills are actually really important and often overlooked and forgotten.
Yeah, so these are still photographs that normally should be taken on a stills camera that's shooting at raw or really high file size that can be blown up and used on large format print, on a poster, on a billboard potentially, and then everything right down to social media and digital uses. So you need lots of different types of stills, don't you?
Oh, you do. You can use the stills in so many different ways and they are really important. And I guess we should talk about why they're so important because they are often overlooked. And I think the biggest reason for that is because you get so busy on production. You just get so busy on set and you just don't think of it. So you've got to really almost put it in the call sheet if you don't have an actual dedicated stills photographer, so you don't forget it.
Yeah, I think they're really useful, particularly like when you're going on a streaming platform, for example. You guys know from your own experience how important that key art is to how you're going to click through. And you'll notice on platforms like Netflix that they're updating the publicity stills all the time. So it's not just one hero image you need, it's a range of hero images. We've got a film running on TV in Australia right now. It's on the on-demand platform. And, you know, there's a hero shot there. It's really important, I think, to how likely people are to watch your film.
Yep.
If your film's getting distributed on the plane, it's going to be on the back of the seat in the monitor. You know, like whether someone's going to tune in or not has a lot to do with the quality of that still.
So I guess the thing is you can take a screen grab out of your film, but it's not going to have the same quality. It's not going to have the same resolution. And I've been told that some film festivals won't actually accept them as a production still.
Yeah, I think that's true. They do have quite high requirements in terms of the resolution and the image size. With our newer cameras, they're shooting at a pretty high size anyway and a pretty high quality. So I think things have changed a little bit there. You can get away with using more screenshots than you used to be able to, which is great. And you can probably supplement, particularly with some digital uses, those types of screenshots, which might be excellent images and been really well lit and, you know, got all your settings in it. However, I think it's always really important, as you say, to book time with a photographer to get all variety of different photos. Like what types of photos would you be briefing into a photographer?
So you want really nice headshots of all your key talent. Okay. That's really important. Yep. You want stills from locations. Behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is so useful, especially in your social media. So as much behind the scenes, and you can get your crew doing that on iPhones as well for behind the scenes for social media. That's, you don't necessarily need like a really high-end camera for that. But you do want really good quality shots for your headshots, for your location shots, for
your hero art.
Art,
this
yes.
is your poster and you know what's going to be showing up on the streaming services. That is absolutely critical to get that stuff, and that's when you need a bit of planning. I actually think it's really helpful to think about what's going to be in the trailer right at the start of production so that you can be thinking about, well, if I had to guess now what's going to go into the trailer, it's going to be like these 5 scenes. And make sure on those days when you're shooting those sequences that you're also getting really high quality stills.
And the other thing that's great with stills is that people don't necessarily realise, I mean, just think about whenever you click these days through to an article or anything online, there's tons of images.
Yeah.
So if you've got really good production stills and you can supply that to your publicist, they can then share that with all of the media contacts they have, and it makes it so much easier. They go, okay, great, I've got a really good story here about this film, and there's also the images to go with it. So you're like 5 steps ahead.
That is such a good point. Like, I just think about, as you're saying that, how many news articles we've got, how much press we've got because the images have been good. Sometimes the reporters are almost looking at the images first because the images are that important to decide if they're going to run a story. So if you can give them a link to, you know, a Dropbox folder with really high resolution stills, you're going to get a lot more press for your film. So this is another way that it pays itself off. Now, if you're a smaller one-man band, two-man band kind of filmmaker, still possible. I would really recommend having a DSLR in your kit because they're great cameras for, you know, shooting video, but also getting really high quality stills. But you still need to have that discipline to make time to get them. And even I find this tough. You know, like you're really focused on the filmmaking to sort of drop out of that and say, no, we need to make time for the stills, it can be hard to do.
Yeah, it can. And one of the best times actually to get the stills photos of your participant is immediately at the end of the interview. So they're already seated, they've already got the lights on,
Yep.
everything's looking really good. You just need them to sit there for an extra 2 or 3 minutes where you run off some production stills and then you've got them.
You may have heard a case study from Filming on Location about a shoot that we recently did in Sydney, and we did just that. While the participant was still sitting in the same spot as they'd done the interview, we took some publicity stills like straight away, and we'll show you some of those now.
So the best uses for your production stills are publicity for your press kit, for media, social media images, for your poster, and for all the promotion that you're going to do for your film. So that's why they're so important.
Yeah, think thumbnails as well. So thumbnails for your streaming services, but also YouTube and stuff like that. It's great to have a variety of stills. One other thing I wanted to mention here was when you're shooting for thumbnails, and thumbnails might be in the form of, you know, your streaming services, it might be in-flight entertainment, or it might be for YouTube and your promotional films that you've got on there. It's really important that you have stills that also contain a lot of negative space. So you're shooting a lot more than you need because you're going to need to position the film title somewhere in that image as well.
Yeah, so that's loads on stills for your production. So hopefully you've got some useful info in there. So don't forget, put a reminder in your phone on a shoot day, put it in the call sheet, whatever you've got to do, just don't forget to take some production stills. Next week, we are back with loads more on how to manage your production.